Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Empowered Resilient Woman, a podcast that supports all women on their journey to becoming their most resilient selves in life and in business. I'm your host, Kimberly Smith. Today, I am talking to an amazing woman. I'm so excited. I actually met her at a networking event, so just goes to show you, you never know who you're going to connect with. And so I want to welcome and introduce Ulanda Spencer. She has spent over 15 years devoted to the healthcare industry, where, of course, she has impacted so many people's lives. And now she is actually the owner of Sanity Spa. She has created sanity spaces for those seeking peace and tranquility, which I don't know who isn't, amidst the busy world and the busy lives that we lead. Her journey extends far beyond her professional accomplishments. She's a dedicated wife, a mother of 4, and she balances her family life with her passion for wellness. Ulanda's experiences provide her with a very unique perspective on achieving a healthy work-life balance, emphasizing the importance of emotional health and self-care. And her recent diagnosis with ADHD has allowed Ulanda to leverage her personal emotional health journey to raise awareness and inspire others, reinforcing her belief that, quote, your sanity matters. And I couldn't agree more. So welcome to the show, Ulanda.
Thank you for having me, Kimberly. I really appreciate you inviting me.
Of course. I knew immediately when I heard what you did. And honestly, even before I heard what you did, you just have this amazing energy. And I don't know, I picked up on it. I was like, she is just, there is something about her and I need to talk to
Nice.
her. I'm so excited to dive into your story a little bit more. Of course, so many things in your bio resonate with myself and I know are going to resonate with our listeners. You've been in the healthcare industry, you've had a transition into entrepreneurship. How did that actually even happen? When did you really come up with the idea for Sanity Spa?
Yeah, so wow. I was going through my own issues, right? So life happens. Our daughter came to us to tell us that she was pregnant.
Mm.
And during that time, it was like our whole world just came crashing down, right? It in my mind, it was like this couldn't happen to me because in my mind, we took all of the proper precautions to kind of prevent this type of thing from happening, and it still happened. I didn't have a space to really process those emotions and those feelings. At the time, I didn't consider therapy. It was just the fact that I just needed a safe space. I internalize a lot, so I knew I just needed kind of to get away from the noise and to really just kind of think things through. And so I kept hearing in my spirit, I'm a person of faith, so I just kept hearing in my spirit the word sanity, and so I'm like, sanity, okay, what else? And then
Give me
I
more.
knew that I wanted the space to be like very luxurious, very relaxing. And so just came up with Sanity Spa. And I really, wasn't able to get it off the ground during that time. I was back in North Carolina and I just felt like it just wasn't the right place to birth it. And so we moved here to Houston 3 years ago. And the very next day after we moved, I started building the business. I got my tax ID and everything just kind of took off from there. It just confirmed that, we had things on the inside of us and it may not be birthed in a certain area, but you just have to be open to change and just, go with it. And here we are, 2 years later.
Yeah. And, I love that you listened to, spirit, right? And that's something
Mhm.
that we don't really talk about enough. I myself have really been fostering a closer relationship with God,
Mhm.
and getting back to my faith through my
Yeah.
own mental health and emotional wellness journey.
Yeah.
And that whole concept that like, we don't have to figure it out alone, that we can
Right.
ask these intrinsic questions or questions to God. And
Yeah.
if we allow for that stillness, then
Yes.
those answers will come through. And maybe it is just one word at first.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But if your intuition and if like, I mean, I truly think our intuition is just God speaking through us,
Yes,
right? Like
absolutely.
that's it. Um,
Absolutely.
and so if you're open to that, and if you're listening to your intuition and listening to God, then you can receive that. And then kind of the pieces of the puzzle start to naturally fall in place.
Absolutely. It becomes effortless at that point, right? You're not having to force doors to be open and you don't have to force things to happen. It just automatically happens. Yep.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into obviously the concept of manifestation, right? When you start to take those puzzle pieces and put them together because you're following, the signs that God's giving you and your intuition is
Mhm.
feeding you, things start to form, right? They start to
Yes,
manifest into reality.
yes.
Um, and that's something I love to come back to, right? Because I think that oftentimes in popular culture, we hear manifesting and it just sounds so woo woo and so whatever, but
Hmm.
there's action, there's faith. Like that is
Yes,
that is the product of action and faith aligned.
absolutely.
And so,
Absolutely. Faith without works is dead, right? So, we can believe it all day and 9 times out of 10 it's not gonna land in your lap, right? So you have to go out there and you have to work towards what you're believing for. So, yep.
yes. So tell us a little bit more about Sanity Spa. I mean, what services do you provide? What is the space like? What can people expect when they, want to check it out and if they want to book a
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sanity Spa is an emotional wellness spa. This is actually a unique concept for Houston. So I'm super excited to kind of bring awareness to it. But it's just a space where you can come in to process your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, just in a contained, healthy way. We offer guided meditations. We offer mindful coloring, art therapy, sound spa, journaling, journal prompts, and then other mental health resources that we've partnered up with a circle of professionals that are ready and willing to offer their services if you want to take your journey to the next level. But it's just a space to really kind of to be alone with your thoughts in order for you to really make those important decisions, right? Sometimes when we are, full of emotions, we tend to make these knee-jerk reactions and decisions, and it doesn't go over pretty well when we do that. And so sometimes we just need to take a pause. We need to be still and we need to think about what we're doing, think about the situation, how it's making us feel. And then from there, we'll be able to make those clear decisions.
What comes to mind too for me is that like, we do have such busy lives
Mhm.
and a lot of people I know want to do these things. They want to
Mhm.
make time for meditation and do things
Yeah,
like mindful art and coloring. Like I love to do that, right? Um,
yeah,
and when you're first getting started in your journey or even throughout your journey, right? Like sometimes home is not the best place to do those activities.
exactly.
There's
Hmm.
too many distractions.
Exactly.
Oftentimes it's like part of the problem, part of the
Yes,
chaos, and you need to
yes.
get away from that.
Exactly, exactly. That's the whole concept, right? So I have 4 kids. They range from 21 to 7.
Oh,
I have
God
two
bless you.
grand I have two grandbabies, two granddaughters as
Wow.
well, 4 and 1. So yeah, crazy is an understatement, right? So, yeah, you do need to go off to a different space. Sometimes you may be in a bind and you really can't get like a hotel room. You know what I mean? You just need an hour or two, maybe even 30 minutes to just, escape for a bit, just to kind of regroup, relax. We have, beverages and we have snacks, we have cozy socks. We have that ambient lighting. Like I said, the sound spa. So sometimes you just need to take a quick visit to a nice space where you can just regain your thoughts, rejuvenize, relax, and be ready to kind of serve your family afterwards. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the overstimulation that we experience day to day,
Yeah.
like don't underestimate the power of a staycation or that 30-minute like break of silence and
Yes.
stillness. That is
Yes.
like what everybody I think needs more of these
Yes,
days.
and it's so needed. And I think sometimes we get scared to sit with our thoughts. You know what I mean? We don't know how to handle that. And I want to encourage the stillness because that's what we need to kind of discover ourselves, right? So we're in a space where in a time where a lot of things are going on, right? Like you said, we're being overstimulated by all avenues. And so you just need that time to be still. And don't be afraid of what comes up,
Yeah.
from that stillness. The thoughts that may populate, right? And so our goal is to really identify your emotions, what you're feeling during that time, and we provide the resources to help you kind of walk you through your visit. So we do have an app that helps you walk you through your visit, depending on your emotions and your mood. Different resources, articles, podcasts, different articles and information kind of populate to kind of help you identify what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, the triggers that may come along with that, and really kind of set you on a journey to manage your emotions when you're, facing the world or facing family, relationships, all of that.
When we hear wellness and then, you know, as more so now, right? We
Yes,
hear it
yes,
broken down into like
yes,
there's the physical, there's the
yes,
mental, there's the emotional, there's the spiritual.
yes.
And so, I mean, what do you think some of the benefits are? I'm curious, just your perspective, right?
Mhm.
Of dealing with the emotional wellness part. Like, how does that impact the rest of our lives too?
Yeah. So emotional wellness is really just managing your emotions, right? So it's in managing your emotions in a way that is healthy and productive. So it's being in tune with how you feel, why you feel, how those emotions influence our decisions and our behaviors. And so one of the ways we kind of tackle that is with self-awareness. So you have to be self-aware,
Yeah.
right? You have to be self-aware and recognize what's triggering your emotions. Emotional regulation. It's really managing your emotions, right? Calming yourself down when you're upset, expressing your feelings in an appropriate manner, dealing with stress in the right way. So I think the benefit is really your surroundings, your environment is your benefit, right? Your family, the way you interact with your family, the way you're building those relationships and how you're managing those relationships. Emotional wellness is just that foundation of your overall well-being, right? So I think the benefit is everybody, your surroundings benefit from those types of activities, you
Yeah.
being more in tune with the things that you intake, right? Not just your TV, your social media. What are you intaking, right? All of that affects your emotions. And so you want to make sure that, um, you're managing that and you're bringing that back to where it's not affecting your family, your friends, your job, right? Because we we can be very emotional at times, and so we just have to find a way to make sure that we're not affecting other people in a negative manner.
Yeah, people are so reactive,
Yes.
and that, just what you said too about like knowing your triggers
Mhm.
and having self-awareness. But it's self-awareness, I don't think is something that we have or we don't have. It's something that we continue
Yeah.
to hone, right?
Yeah.
Even myself, right? Like as last week I was a hot mess. It's a wreck. was it was definitely like coming up on my period. I was talking to a couple friends about this and my sister. I'm like, there is that one week a month where I literally go insane. I don't know, like all of what I've learned throughout
Yeah,
my own journey
yeah.
just goes out the window.
It happens. It happens.
Crying, I'm just a sap. But
It
I've
happens.
learned too to watch
Mhm.
out. Like I at least now in the moment, right? I can be
Mm.
like, this is hormonal, this will pass.
Yes,
Be good to yourself
yes,
instead of fighting it.
yes. And that self-talk is huge. I find myself doing that more recently now as well. And I would say to myself, Yolanda, you're okay.
Yeah.
Everything is okay. You're in a safe space. And I find that that definitely helps calm me down a bit. Even the guided breathing, like that helps tremendously. So yeah,
Yes.
there are different ways that we can regulate our emotions, but being self-aware is key to knowing where you're at, and what your breaking point is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Identifying your breaking point will definitely help you know, hey, I'm leaning towards this breaking point. Let me scale it back a bit, or okay, let me do my breathing, or let me say some positive affirmations to myself. So
Yeah.
self-awareness is key.
And that's such a powerful thing too, to know your breaking point. I never thought of it quite like that. I think we think a lot in terms of triggers, but the thing is we all have a bandwidth for
Yes,
triggers as well. So
absolutely.
one thing might trigger you and you might feel that like, like you might
Mhm.
like, you're it's like kind of it's on your last nerve or kind of like
Yeah.
rubbing up against a nerve. But then something else happens and you kind
Yep.
of tolerate that and you bite your tongue or whatever. But
Mhm.
then that third or that fourth thing
Yep.
might be what makes you snap, right? On a
Yes.
coworker or
Yes.
give somebody the finger in traffic, which I've done.
Of course,
I'm not proud of it.
we all have at some point.
I'm not afraid of my shadow, Yolanda. I know that I can be a straight up bitch sometimes. And you know what? Sometimes that's a strength, but there's
Yes.
a time and a place.
Yes, exactly.
That is so, all of this is such good food for thought, right?
Mhm.
Because I think we poo-poo sometimes like the small stuff. And, you know, I come at this podcast, I try to bring like different topics and everything. And there's so many different angles when you look at
Yeah.
mental health and emotional wellness. It's almost hard to separate the two, right?
Yeah. It is.
But these are foundational things, right? Like breathing, you always have access to breathing. You can
Yes.
always slow it down.
Yes.
I have a list in my phone of affirmations that
Mm.
I try to look at first thing in the morning,
Yep.
like instead of going into social media or into whatever, I
Mhm.
pull up my little notes that has my affirmations in it
Yep.
and I start that day just with some positive thoughts running through my brain, right? Um,
Mhm.
these are simple things,
Yeah.
but they work. They really do. Why do you think women in particular are so depleted and so heavily impacted in the areas of mental and emotional health, right? Like, and I know men are too, and maybe it's
Mhm.
just that women are having the conversation more, or maybe my
Mhm.
algorithm is just showing women having the conversation more. I don't know.
Right. Hey, that could be true.
But women I know are everybody's struggling, but I know I feel and just even the statistics I've seen, right? Women are 50% of women will be diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. That's
Yeah,
huge,
it
right?
is huge. It is. I believe I believe women are at a deficit for a number of reasons. I know one major factor is the fact that we're juggling a lot, right? We're juggling family, work, uh, we're juggling, our own sanity as
Yeah.
well, trying to making sure we're okay. Household management, making sure the kids are where they need to be, at any given point. Um, Also, I think sometimes we feel guilty about taking time for ourselves. I think I know for me, I feel guilty at times when, I sneak off to the mall without telling, my husband or kids where I'm going, or if I get a Chick-fil-A milkshake or something like that, and
Right.
finish
Like,
it.
why should we feel guilty about this? God, you deserve that damn milkshake, Ulanda.
But yeah, I mean, we feel guilty about doing, self-care things for ourselves. So I think, we sacrifice so much for other people, and we just go neglected until we don't have anything in our cup, right? And you hear the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, which is so true. But I think we're on E.
Yeah.
And I think we really need to be intentional about doing things for ourselves and managing our sanity. We just have to be more intentional and overcome that guilt, right? And to know that if we're not at our best self, we're no good to anybody else. We're no good to our family and our friends if we're not at our best self. And so I learned to take that type of sentiment to know if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of other people. And so I try to do something for myself at least once a week, even if it's just a milkshake or just browsing the Target. You know what I mean? Just kind of getting out to just do me, and it's okay, right? It's okay. The kids will be there, the family will be there, the friends will be there, and if they really care, which I'm sure they do, they'll understand. Hey,
Yeah.
my husband told me all the time, yeah, go out for a couple of hours. We're fine, you know. And I think, sometimes we think we're superhuman, right? We feel like we can take on the world, and I know that's my testimony. I feel like I have to do it, and that's not always the case. And
Yeah.
so I think we're more intentional about filling our cup, whatever that is, right? And that's why one of the reasons why I created Sanity Space, because if you don't want to, browse the floors, or if you know what I mean, if you don't want to get that hotel room, Sanity Space is just that space to just be, even if you don't want to read, you don't have to read. If you don't want to listen to music, you don't have to listen. It's just a space where you can do whatever you want to do for that amount of time, and that's it. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're just in and out.
Well, and I think these days, life is it's
Life
so much
and
more complex, right? There's so much going on. We are busier than ever, right? Between our jobs, the demands of our jobs, um, also kids, the schedules, the extracurriculars,
yes,
family, right? You use the word intentional, and this is something that I work with a lot of my clients on and have had to be super mindful of myself as being intentional with my time,
yes,
intentional about the way that I schedule things, even self-care, right? Like
yep,
we all know, like at this point, if it's not on the calendar, it's not getting done. So
yep,
schedule that damn massage, schedule the time
yes,
for the Sanity Spa, right? I mean,
yes,
I do love this concept of just like escaping because I mean, how great would it be? I'm sure people fantasize about, I think there was this meme a while back that was floating around about like how a woman's dream is like a hotel room above Target with like and
mm,
Netflix and like Chick-fil-A where
yeah,
like nobody will bother you, right? Like,
right,
so that is essentially like bring your own Chick-fil-A, but you can bring it to
hmm,
Sanity Spot. There's other
yep,
snacks. Um,
absolutely,
yeah. And the
yep,
whole self-care thing, like I've learned about myself, and I'm sure you're the same. You need way more than you think.
yes,
And
absolutely,
even if it's 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there, like
yes,
I love to make these little micro moments throughout the day so
hmm,
that I can regulate, so that I can breathe, so that I can
yes,
be with myself. And this time that we spend caring for ourselves helps remind us, I think, of like who we are as an individual, because that
yes,
gets lost in this
yes,
whole hustle and bustle of this fast, busy world.
it does, it really does. And I think, with me, that self-discovery has I've been on a self-discovery journey for a few years now. And I've been really intentional about it the last 2 years for sure. And discovering who you are is key, especially, we talked about earlier, turning 40 and you know what I mean? And it's so it's so surreal. But I think once we are intentional about discovering who we are, we will be surprised, to be honest. We will be surprised who we are and some of the things, that we like now we may not have liked, 10 years ago. And what we liked 10 years ago, we really don't like now. And I know during my journey, I realized I was diagnosed with ADHD, and that just kind of it confirmed a lot of behaviors and situations when I was growing up, as a child. But I think now really understanding what it is as an adult, um, it's been very enlightening. But all of this kind of came out of being intentional, spending that time devotion. I do have daily devotion with God, and where I'm either praying or reading the Bible. And the spirit was like, get tested for ADHD. And I didn't know, I didn't have a lot of information about it. I knew, the different quirks about me. But it never kind of dawned on me that it could have been ADHD. And so I just went with it, got tested, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was just such a light bulb moment. And but it all came from that devotion time, that being intentional, and spending time with yourself and in that stillness. But it changed my life. It
That is
changed my life.
amazing. And I was so fascinated to actually even read that in your bio because I didn't know that about you.
Mhm.
And I myself have been thinking that I need to get tested because I've seen so much content around women having these late diagnoses. And, girls are typically diagnosed late, in their adolescence, even too.
Yep.
And there are like any content that I see that's like around ADHD, I'm like, this is me, right? Like, and people probably have a hard time believing that because I think on
Yeah.
the outside I present as a very organized person,
Hmm.
but I've
Hmm.
learned those skills. Like I've had
Yeah.
to really, really like struggle and learn and implement and come back to and
Yeah.
start again. Like
Yeah. Absolutely. All of that.
and those systems that I've developed, and those are a lot of the things that I integrate into my coaching with my clients, because
Mhm.
regardless of if you have a ADHD or ADD diagnosis or not, we
Mhm.
still have limited capacity in our brains, and we
Right.
need
Yes.
to have systems in place to
Yes.
make life feel easier. That's just
Yes.
you know? But I am curious. So what were some of the steps that you took to really get tested? Because I'm curious, but I know other people listening are probably curious as well and may have had those similar thoughts like, maybe that's me. Maybe I should check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would say just, check with your physician, just kind of explain the things that you're going through. And I was referred to a psychiatrist. And so went through a series of testing and came back with that diagnosis. And I had the combined type, which
Mhm.
is the inattention and the hyperactivity and impulsivity. So I have all of that combined. And yeah, just trying to navigate through that. I'm actually going through the acceptance piece of it because I haven't fully accepted it.
Mm.
But I can actually say it without crying now. So baby steps for sure. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, if you feel like that you exhibit any symptoms, then I would just say, refer to your doctor, and they will kind of refer you to a psychiatrist or to another center that may be able to kind of get you diagnosed or get you additional testing.
Yeah, and this is just more information, and thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that. I know
Yeah.
that's a private matter, and it can, these things when we find them out, and I think that that may be why a lot of people do shy away from
Mhm.
doing this inner work, because they're like, well, what am I going to find
What
out? Like, do I really want
exactly?
to know what's broken, right?
Right.
The
Yeah.
thing is, we're not broken. Like, this is just different. Like, I'm sure you've heard the term neurodivergent, and
Yes.
that refers to so many people with ADHD, with different
Hmm.
types of ADHD, with different types of autism.
Yeah.
Our brains are so divinely made. Of course, they're not all
Hmm.
going to be the same. Of
Right.
course, we're going to have different capabilities.
Hmm.
And you look at people like that, like Stephen Hawking, right? Who had, such a quote disability, and he was a genius, right? So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yep.
you see different kids with, I just saw a article the other day about a young girl who is autistic, but she
Mhm.
has an IQ higher than Albert Einstein,
Oh, I
and she's
believe it.
like 10.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Yeah.
So I think our culture needs to really shift its thought process around these quote disabilities, like, and you're differently abled, right? Like, you are
Yeah.
capable of different things. You may need
Yeah.
different support techniques. What are some of the support techniques that you have really put into play for yourself since this diagnosis? I'm curious.
Um, it's been, hmm, I can't really narrow down a specific types of techniques. Well, one thing I can say, one of the things that I used to do was it's so funny. At night, out when I would scroll, my phone before I fall asleep, I used to purchase from Amazon, like right
Hmm.
before, right before I'm like, okay, I'm really tired. I'm gonna go to sleep. I would just, purchase whatever's in my cart, and that's part of being impulsive. But having that sense of urgency, oh, I need to do it before I fall asleep. But
Yes.
it was almost every night. So granted, that's not ideal, right? Because I
Right.
really should be on a budget for one. But
Amazon is tempting though, man. I mean, I have a thing for it
yeah,
too. I always have a cart running.
yes, yes. So I realized that, I was being impulsive. So
Mm.
one of my things now is that I don't buy anything and I don't even search Amazon before I leave now. So I
So
put
a
that in place.
boundary. So you put in a
Yes,
boundary. So that's
I
really
did.
helpful.
I
Yeah.
did. I put in a boundary. And there will be days where I would get overstimulated, especially if there were tons of meetings at work and I'm getting a lot of information at one time. It's like my brain gets into overload and I would get really bad headaches. And so I've learned to kind of pace myself in that way. I try to manage my calendar a little bit better to
Mhm.
where I don't have those back-to-back meetings. So I try to put like a buffer in between meetings to make sure I don't get overloaded. That has
Yeah.
helped a lot. So I don't have those headaches as often. Um, but yeah, just trying to, identify these little things and try to make it better. Some days are better than others.
Yeah.
I've learned to give myself more grace now that I know what it is. And I'm trying lists now. I'm trying to utilize a list. Me and lists have a love-hate relationship. It's it's so crazy. We really do.
Yeah.
I would start out with a list, but I really don't go by the list. And that's just the fact that I don't like to do daily mundane things. I need
Mm.
some type of variety in my life.
Yes.
But I know I have to do those daily tasks, and so I'm learning to kind of psych my brain out to create a sense of urgency so I can get it done.
Mhm.
But yeah, It's been a journey. I'm still
Yeah, it's
learning for sure. Yeah, I'm still learning for sure, but I do just want to bring awareness to it. A lot of people, especially like in the African American community, like we don't think it's a real, condition, and it really
yeah,
is. And I really want to just bring light to it to say, if you feel like you're struggling, or if you feel like you've been different all of your life, or for me, you can probably tell, like, I stumble over my words a lot. It's just different things like that really attributes to ADHD. It's like there's a ton of thoughts and ideas and things that are going on in my head, and I'm trying to get it all out at the same time. And so but yeah, I'm just learning to embrace who I am. The Bible says we're fearfully and
mm,
wonderfully made. And so
yes.
I'm learning to love that person. Yep, just the way she is.
Yeah, and that I think is one of the golden prizes of
Yeah.
personal development and really supporting your mental and emotional health and getting
Mhm.
to know yourself is that you can enjoy who you are, right?
Yeah.
You can really start to really enjoy who you are. And instead of, and you learn to accept all of these things, right? It
Mhm.
is a journey, it is a
Yeah.
process. It doesn't happen all at once.
Right.
But, if you think about the beliefs that we have, right? And thinking that these things are somehow a deficit to us and that they make us unlovable or whatever it might be that's, floating around our subconscious, it's gonna take time to reprogram that, right? Like
Oh,
we have to
absolutely.
brainwash ourselves in the opposite direction.
Absolutely. And for me, it's been 40 years in the making. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely not gonna happen overnight or in 40 days or 40 months, you know what I mean? And so that's why I'm learning to give myself that grace to know
yeah.
that, take it one day at a time. That's what my therapist told me last week. One day at a time,
Such simple
one
advice,
day.
but it works,
No.
man. I mean, if you are in a spiral, which we all get there, myself
Hmm.
included, right? Like you
Yeah.
have to remind yourself of these core foundational things that can help you shift in the moment, which can help
Yeah.
you take that breath and
Yep.
pause.
Yeah.
This is like a deep level of personal growth and self-healing for you. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to watch. You've birthed a business.
Yeah.
You now are, seem so happy and satisfied. I want to
Mhm.
kind of, enter into our little lightning round.
Okay.
So, what is, and I'm trying to switch it up. I'm trying to like find some better questions and all that stuff. Because frankly, I mean, I love the questions, but I think the listeners may want to hear something different. So,
Yeah.
what is a pet peeve of yours? What is something that really like grates your nerves?
Um, Misspelled words.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, my kids. So when they send me a text,
Oh,
and it's either the little text language, or if it's just a misspelled word, I would, answer the question or whatever, and then I would kind of kindly correct them, and it gets on their nerves, but just here to help you learn.
yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing that kind of hurts me.
What about what's bringing you joy? What's bringing you satisfaction? What are you loving right now about your life or your business or just where you are in this personal development journey?
I think just the journey right now, it's like I'm peeling back the layers,
Yeah.
and it's exciting to see what I find. So I'm loving that. I'm just loving spending time with my family, in Sanity space. Like I love spending time in the space. I love just, relaxing, and yeah, just this whole journey has been very enlightening for me. So I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. And being an entrepreneur, I mean, you're seeing what you're capable of. And I think that that is something that's not talked about enough when we're talking
Right.
about doing this work. It's not all just, crying and journaling, right?
Mhm.
Like you.
No, yeah, you're right. It's not. It's very empowering. Like it really is
Yeah.
empowering, and I had no idea that this what happened, the way that it happened. And I'm pleasantly surprised, but I know the hard work that I put into it. And so I'm just learning to, celebrate that.
Right.
Sometimes we don't celebrate, our work. And we're really out here working. We're doing our very best. We're sacrificing, and we don't celebrate enough. So I'm learning to celebrate
Yeah.
more.
I think that is something that a lot of people have a hard time with. And I'd probably say I don't give myself enough credit either. And I think
Mm.
sometimes it's hard to, we've been taught like pride is a bad thing, right?
Yeah,
Like, and it's not like,
it's
and a
not.
lot of times I hear from my clients too that they don't feel like they can share their wins because they don't want to seem like they're bragging, or like, maybe they don't really have a supportive peer or family
Yeah.
group.
Mhm.
And to that, obviously, we say find new friends. 'Cause
Right.
there's
That part. Find a new
a
circle.
lot of people out there. Um,
Yeah.
what about patience, humility, and surrender? We talk about this a lot. These three pillars are core when
Yeah.
it comes to managing my own mindset, because oftentimes I need one or all three or a couple of them.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
which one do you struggle with the most?
Um, I would say surrendering. As I mentioned before, it seems like I just try to take on the world, and I do have a great support system, and that love me, and I don't think I utilize them as much as I should, and as much as they want me to. So I think surrender is kind of hard for me, and they're actually one of the things I had to learn in management in my corporate world is delegating, right? Delegating tasks. And so it's very similar.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to really lean on them and trust them to know that, they can help me. It's okay to ask for help, right? It's okay to need help, and it doesn't make you weak, or it's actually just a sign of strength to know that, hey, I've reached a capacity and now I need some assistance. So it's okay to ask for help. And I'm learning that too.
Very, very true. Very, very
Mhm.
true. What does it mean to you to really be empowered? How does being empowered really change everything?
To me, being empowered is just having the confidence. It's knowing who you are as a person. And it's, knowing um, the value that you add to people,
Mm,
what you bring to the table. I think that's just um, knowing that, you can make decisions, you can control certain things, but also even the things that you can't control, it's actually knowing when to let go, right? It's
mm.
knowing when to let go of negative thoughts, or, people that are not adding value to your life. So that's being empowered.
Yeah, I love that. Such a wonderful, wonderful reminder.
Mhm.
So tell people where they can find you, where they can connect with you. I mean, if you want to share your handle and website, of
Yeah,
course, this will all be in the show notes as well.
yeah,
But yeah, tell people how they can connect.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm on Instagram at the Sanity Spa. I also have a website, thesanityspa.com, and we're located in Houston, 5373 West Alabama Street, Suite 204 in Houston, near the Galleria.
Awesome. Fantastic. And I saw you were so generous to share a discount code,
Yeah,
Sanity20, to get 20% off when you book on their website. So use that code,
absolutely.
Sanity20, and that will also be in the show notes. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much, Yolanda, for joining us. I have really enjoyed our conversation, and I cannot wait to see how Sanity Spa evolves. I can tell
Yeah.
you have a big vision, and I can just see how this could have such an important and amazing impact on, the city of Houston and just honestly the world. This could be so
Yeah.
huge.
Oh, thank you so much, Kimberly, for having me. And thank you for your encouragement. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to collaborate more.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Thank you for listening, everybody out there. If you enjoy this episode, share it with a friend. Share it on social media. It helps us out so much. Everybody needs to be connected to new resources. You can tag me at kimberly.brook.smith so that I can say thank you and keep shining. We will see you next time.